Here we are in this week's assignments module, which is due Sunday, September 6th. These are some of our learning objectives. You'll be creating basic shapes and working with other tools. This week, you'll be working through chapters 3, 4, and 5 in the textbook. And again, just click the link, which will take you to that chapter in the textbook on the MiraCosta Library database. There's chapter 3. And I've attached zip folders for the files. Just right-click and save that zip folder to your computer somewhere. Unzip it and you'll be able to work through the lessons. You may want to have a look at the video tutorials this week, which cover the tools and techniques covered in this week's chapters. The textbook, I work through the textbook step by step so that you can see exactly how the tools work. So there's chapter 3, there's chapter 4, chapter 5, and also videos to finish up the first skill builder, which you'll turn in this week. And some additional videos there for tips and tricks. You may want to have a look at some of these lectures for additional information. And this week you'll be turning in your campground icons, your first skill builder, and hopefully they will look similar to these. You'll turn in the Illustrator file by clicking this link. Now, the student side of this looks a little bit different. You'll actually have a place where you can attach your Illustrator file. This is from my side, so I can't see that, but you'll be able to figure that out. So you'll be finishing up your campground icons this week. This week, you'll begin working on your first project, which is a subway map. Click this link for the details. And again, you'll be creating basically an imaginary subway map for the city you live in or have lived in, or maybe an imaginary city. A subway map is a type of information graphic, and it's in the form of a schematic diagram to indicate the routes and stations. Subway maps are seldom geographically accurate. Instead, they use straight lines and angles with fixed distances between stations. And there's a reason for that, and they differ from typical maps because subway maps compress time and space, because passengers don't need to know how far away their destination is or how long it will take to get there. All passengers need to know is how to get from point A to point B. Have a look at the project requirements. There are technical competency requirements. There is an artistic form requirement and a professional presentation requirement. Here are some examples of subway maps if you're not familiar with them, and this project is worth 150 points. Here are some subway map resources, some links on the web, so that you get a clear idea of what a subway map is. Many of you may not have ever ridden on a subway, and maybe not ever used a map, but these links will give you a good example of what subway maps are, because like I said, they're quite different from a typical road map in that they are not geographically accurate. Be sure to watch this video on Massimo Vignelli. He designed a subway map for New York City in the 1970s, which became very controversial, even though it was an almost perfect information graphic. But only after a few years, New York City hired somebody else to create another map. Here is a bibliography about subway map design. You may not have realized that there are a number of books available on subway map design. Transit Maps of the World is an excellent book available at the UCSD library. So there's this week's, the first project. Again, it's not due until September 27th, but you'll have enough time to complete this if you start thinking about it now. This week, you'll begin your project by doing some research, and you're going to find 2 examples of subway maps. And you're going to post the JPEGs of them to the discussion board. And you'll compare and contrast the maps by answering these questions. And this assignment is worth 10 points. You will click this link to the discussion board where you can post your information in any form you like. This week's Illustrator artist is Denis Salvatier. Click that link and that will take you to his website. I've also included a bibliography of links that you might be interested in. And again, this week you will do research for your subway map. Be sure to review the parameters for the project so that you get a clear idea of what you'll be doing. You'll turn in your Skill Builder 1 campground icons and have a look at the lectures. Most importantly, I want you to look at the subway map design lecture. And this gives you a little bit of history as to subway map design. And I think will help you understand exactly how subway maps are different, what their purpose is, and what you need to do to create a good subway map. The first subway was opened in London in 1863. Perhaps some of you have ridden on it. I have. And this Mr. Beck, who was an engineer, realized that the subway needed a different kind of map. And he really was the first person to come up with the idea of a specific type of map for a subway. And now subway maps all over the world follow that. There's Massimo Vignelli's map of New York City from the 70s. There's the current subway map, which is kind of awful. Now here are some student maps. Here's one by Marcia Jackson. She spent a great deal of time designing the icons. She created a logo for it. She calls it the Oahu Subwave for a subway in Oahu, Hawaii. She did an excellent job on this. Spent a great deal of time, thought. Here's one by Alison Carlo. Looks like a circuit breaker map, but it's an excellent example of subway map design. And here's another one by Miguel Saldana. Also an excellent example of subway map design. May look simple and easy, but it really is not. It's a very detail-oriented project. So be sure to have a look at that subway map design lecture. Have a look at the video tutorials and also work through chapters 3, 4, and 5 in the textbook. So that's this week's assignment. If you have any questions, email me. Otherwise, have fun.